Hey, this is Misery Loves Company. Oh, oh. Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. It is Friday again, so let's get rolling here. Yeah, Jimmy Carter is alive, Derek. He did go to hospice last year, and he's still fucking alive.
I thought the stays were short.
Usually they are, like you don't hear, but you never know, when someone's at the end, you never fucking know. Um, anyway, on that optimistic note, Mark is up first tonight.
Hey, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Beautifully.
Great. Yeah. So, things are falling apart. And, you know, the world is insane. I'm kind of subdued this evening, uh, just a little bit. I'm experiencing some pretty bad pain. So, I'm just not quite my regular self, but I'm going to read some poems from a chapbook that is going to be published by Naked Cat Press in January. That's the date we're aiming for. And these poems I wrote uh, kind of chronologically directly after the poems that I've been reading the past few weeks. So, you know, that's something to think about, like how they kind of relate or don't relate to what I've been reading. And I'm probably going to read about three, maybe four. The first poem is Glass. And the title of the manuscript that this is from is The Kingdom of Middle Children. Glass. If a colleague approaches you while you are smoking outside the building where you work, outside the service entrance to the building where you work, quickly look away and start to rotate your head, having calculated the time required for him to see you, not seeing him, as you're looking straight ahead until your gazes intersect, faces engaged and alive with spontaneous, unrestrained greeting. How you see, prismatic as a periscope, the measured turning of your head like the broken pivot of an irrigation sprinkler unwinding as water discharged from a nozzle repels an impact arm, nudging the spray in the smallest of increments that broken up into droplets, two arcs describe. Keep in mind, you do this only if you see your colleague first, or else you'll come off as deceitful and shifty. The principle at work here is twofold. Confronted with more than one opponent, heed the one you don't see. Also, making eye contact too soon places you at a definite disadvantage. This can't be considered too deeply. The next poem is Study in Monochrome with Button Man and Mark. 1. Black leather newsboy cap aslant over half-lidded eyes. His dew-beaded black leather coat glistens with rivulets streaming down creases and folds, lustrous as snail trails. His beard trimmed to fine points of sharp angles, pale, smoothly shaved skin that describes his full, parted lips. I've gone to work for him. Now he wants me to work. His silence commands me. His silence commands me to work. 2. Walking back from the station house, painted gray, maybe yesterday or maybe last week, he gives no sign of having been interrupted. Working out from the station house, men rake the stone ballast, feet dipped in gray steel like rolled denim pant cuffs. Riding mowers topped with glass towers, flaps of covered blades lowered, crawl in and out of view on the hills around the station. The sound of the cutting of the engines and revolving blades laps like milk in a shallow bowl. Sugar glaze, earth smell, electricity. 3. Watchful from under the brim of his cap, drowsy eyes restless, lazily roving around in their sockets. He tries to look at me but can't focus because he's eaten too much sugar, too many donuts, pastries, to notice me, noticing the difference between someone who's working hard and someone who's doing hard work, the difference between us. 4. His job is to prepare the grounds for the train's arrival. His job begins with a phone call that does him the same way a fat finger does a button on anything that has a button you can push. Even a person has a button you can push. 5. It's the wrong time of year for painting and mowing. The weather's damp and chill. It's barely even spring. Am I the only one who hears the tractor mowers choked with wet clumps of grass, muddy roots? Undulate ribbons of noise from the gasoline engines get chopped up like ticker tape into confetti and corkscrewing helical streamers to leave behind traces like fossils imprinted on gray paint that stays wet in spring weather. 6. I start to tell him I don't want to work anymore. I'm tired of working, when he reaches in his pocket. Around a button in the single-breasted row of buttons, a vortex starts to spin. Success comes to a place too sad to have a name. We started with communal living, drugs, then got involved in real estate scams, extortion. We blackmailed a restaurant owner because his business partner was a pederast who used the restaurant to cruise teenage boys working first jobs. A guy who serviced the air conditioning flew a single-engine airplane down to Florida and returned with cocaine on the weekends. We stepped on all of them. The prospect of a violent death along a lonely stretch of country road didn't faze me. For this, the main asshole nerve thought he struck gold when I started to work for him. I grew accustomed to the vagaries of loyalty to a guy who knew no purpose beyond his need to justify paranoia and suspicion. His appetite sharpened by a vague self-denial he saw in me, a severe detachment he put down to hypoglycemia. When I left, he gave me a pound of purple indica we called marrying weed. Finding myself many years later in a dead end, when the man asked me back, I sulked and bristled, principled and morally composed. Yes, conflicted even, for the first time in an otherwise dissolute and depraved life. Having attained a loss that couldn't be consoled with money, power, or menace. I believed I could mend, knit the ragged ends of my soul. I didn't understand the stumps were cauterized, flush with the sundering, a kind and decent woman passing through my life left in her wake, her departure already assured in her first visitation, I realized, but not before she staked a claim to everything I thought I owned. The last poem is Threatens to Bloom. Wearing black skin-tight jeans and a matching black turtleneck, Karen taught in a solemn atmosphere private students her best severe academic French at a kitchen table as big around as the one that seated King Arthur's knights in his court at Camelot. Mixing white skin-tight jeans and a knitted black turtleneck, or a knitted white turtleneck with a pair of black skin-tight jeans. Karen taught academic French to her son and daughter and closest friend in the upscale neighborhood's only son, who was teacher's pet. At the kitchen table of massive size, she presided over like Arthur ruling his knights in Camelot. Standing next to a manager, waiting for ice to fall. Water collects on stainless steel in corners, along sides. Une grande dame who kept watch over our cultural heritage, Karen invited her roommate from when she was living in Paris to attend the Sorbonne, Françoise, to her house for a month. Petite, young, with short pixie cut hair, her full-bosomed chest thrust carelessly forward to rest on the table, like those were her auntie and meant she was in. To her son and daughter, the neighbor's boy interloped, encouraged their mother's moods and her harebrained scheme for a private army to keep her faith and preserve the culture. The neighbor's son was the ideal model for Karen's knight, so was much despised. I can't eat this beautiful hothouse tomato. I imagine Karen arranging it cut into slices and salted and fanned in an arc on a plate with an omelet folded in thirds. Backlit by late afternoon after school light, Francoise tugs the low plunging top button, clasping the shirt-waisted neckline that augurs a wedge through her sternum, conveying up secrets of feminine essence on helical planes of progressively difficult French grammar, while she leans on the table and fondles the disk of her button. Karen taught tense and mood. Karen taught gendered nouns must agree with verbs. Karen taught us to order words. Thank you.
Those were awesome, Mark. I am fascinated by the way you write people. And I just noticed this while I was listening to these poems, maybe because they're more like character sketches than some of your previous poems. But you have this really fascinating approach to writing people where you like break them down to their component parts. It's almost like a dissection or almost like you're taking apart a machine. I love the from the first poem, the way you describe the guy's neck as if it was a spigot watering the lawn. And there are all of these moments throughout these poems where you tunnel focus on like one particular piece of a person, whether it's like a physical part of them or whether it's like a discrete aspect of their personality or whatever. And it's really fascinating because it it goes so well thematically with your work, since there is so much of this almost like, as I've said before, this kind of analytical breaking down, this like cautious deconstruction of life. But it's so interesting to me when you apply that approach to human beings. It really, it's on one level, it's it's like it's kind of dark and kind of disturbing, and it kind of puts you ill at ease, right? Because you're used to
Yes.
these attempts to like turn a human being, like holistically capture the essence of a person, whatever the hell that means, right? So to instead almost see a person like vivisected, almost see them taken apart. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good.
I
Yeah.
think you're onto something, and I've not really thought about it that way before, but that would kind of make sense to a degree. Um, I've often enjoyed Francis Bacon's paintings,
Oh man, me too. Me too.
and that it's the way you described it reminds me of kind of what he does.
Yeah,
With a
where
lot of
he'll
his
like,
portraits.
yeah, exactly. It'll be like a portrait of an autopsy, right? It'll be like a human
Right.
being splayed open with their organs, and it's not as if it's like realist either. It's very like moody and it's very romanticized on some level, but it's still like an autopsy of a human being. Anyway, Mark, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I thought your insight was brilliant. I thank you. I'm glad you like them.
They're great, Mark, and thank you. Thanks for reading, man. Troy said he'd like to go next because he might have to leave early. So, Troy, what did you write in 10 minutes, man? I could
Um,
I could maybe write 3 words in 10 minutes.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's an experiment. Um, yeah, sorry. I have COVID. That's kind of why I have to maybe dip early. I'm feeling
Oh, I
weak,
saw
but
that. Or yeah, I think I saw something about that on Twitter. I'm sorry, man. How are you doing?
I'm feeling better right now. But I'm still like slogging around. But all right, I'll read this real quick if I can read my handwriting. It doesn't have a title. All right. Understand his zipper was stuck. His bottom lip pierced through canine and incisor. A whole shoe full of blood. femur crooked in a jagged rut, glass glitter glommed in wounds. Mother had said, Jimmy, be careful with the world, it'll bite you. Father said, boo, bitch. Jimmy watched from above, the wreckage more like a febrile accordion spiraling toward music than the compacted metal flesh of bones quickly catching fire. Jimmy tried to go down there, down street level where the cars burned, but something kept him fixed to where he was, somehow higher than before. Mother had said, never get caught with your pants down. This is all he could think when he heard his phone ring. He answered. It was God. God said nothing, just breathed heavily into his phone. Everything went black. Nothing happened after that. All right, that's it.
Troy, how the fuck did you write that in 10 minutes? I am
I don't know, man. I just go
I'm
with
super
something.
envious. I'm super envious because it feels really cohesive. Like, first of all, on a sentence level, it's just shocking to me that you came up with like that many really vivid, like gorgeously drawn images so quickly. But it like cohesively though, it holds together. And that's remarkable to me. Like you have this constant, like growing vibe of like well, I mean, I suppose illness is appropriate, all things considered, but also of like the sense of like growing violence and of growing like graphicness and ugliness and this like this wave of like encroaching darkness. And then you had that wonderful ending moment with God on the other side of the phone. And it's so good. You definitely do not throw this one out, man. You need to hold on to this one. I really dig it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And feel better, man. Feel fucking better.
Thank you.
Yeah. Derek's up next.
Awesome. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
I'm gonna read. I literally put a bookmark in characters, but I don't think I've. Man, I hardly have. Who knows? But I'm gonna read something just real short from there. This from characters. This is a book that I wrote that came out
MD has it too. He's holding it up.
Oh,
My copy
nice.
is I think still out in the we'll say the studio. It's still out in the
Oh,
shed.
the Death Shed. Yeah, we're no, I love the Death Shed. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just gonna read this part. I'm gonna give it no context because what's the point? I mean, yeah. Date night, kids at my parents'. We sit on the couch, my wife and I, watching Night Stalker. Makes me miss the colors of the 80s and the furniture, not miss exactly. Pangs of nostalgia for pain. He was horrifying, didn't have a type. His type was fear. He did let the kids go after raping them. I'm only on episode 2 of 4. If I'm mistaken, let me be mistaken. As promotional appeals go, serial killing is a very strong one. Why are none of the serial killers good at writing? Laughably bad, impotent. Their power is so physical, wishing to be mystical, that you have to admit newspapers publish them frothily. If the Night Stalker was working his murder shift in my neighborhood, would I rise up and defend? And how? When the day we went to my papa's house to split up the worldly goods, my brother took all the guns. There must have been 12. There was 12. I counted that day. I counted every Sunday we'd go over there for Sunday supper, and I'd sneak down to the basement and stare at the guns and imagine Uncle Rodney and the argument. My brother took them all and said, you can't have these. Why? Not even one? Not even one, he said. Why? What if the Night Stalker is working his murder shift in my neighborhood? Not even then. Not even then, he said. The Whitaker Behavioral Residential Treatment Center said no guns, and I don't want to come over to smoke your weed and have to clean up your fucking mess because you were sad one morning. He meant my body, because the gun is not for other people. The night stalker may come, I'll cower. He'd like that. He'd get off on that. I go to sleep every night in suburbia, knowing that I cannot adequately protect my family for fear of turning the weapon of love and grace and fire powder and death of the author into the means to erase myself from the narrative deviled eggs. My power is mystical, not physical. You see that now, yes? I'll get the lawyer on the phone today. Get him on the line. I've changed my mind again about the death chatbots. A few months after Johnny and I smoked opium and watched Tom Brady's birth in the snow, we both got jobs at dishwashers at the cafe. Something kind of serious happened with me, a mental health type thing. The doctor prescribed me pills and the pills started to work and I was feeling better. Cocaine was running wild through Winston then, and the cafe was about to sink under its own weight, from ownership to the front of the house to behind the bar to the back of the house to the line to the pit, and spilling into 4th Street and the line of bars, each specializing in a particular strand of depravity. The date rape bar, the pool hall fight club, the shooting is on the local news club, and at the end, squeezed into the tip of the triangle concrete slab, fitted between where the road split into 2 lanes so that as you drove up the hill, it always looked as if you were going to run right through its front door, which only surprisingly happened 3 times, was the Coke spot. Gatsby's. Yes, I also wish it was not named that. Little Bits and Pieces. So that's a section. I'm just going to stop there because I wasn't even reading that. That's a little section. I don't think I've read all. Maybe I have. I probably have.
Eric, I don't think you've read that one before. I think you may have read a little bit that first section when you're talking about the gun and that pieces of that may have been, you may have read an earlier draft of pieces of that, but most of this, I swear I would remember if I had heard this before, because this is fucking fantastic, man. Man, this is even by the standards of a Derek Main piece, this is fucking dark as shit, and I love it. I love it because it's dark, but it is dark in a way that like only your writing would be dark, right? It's not simply dark and despairing. There's this consistent amount of like subtle wit, like on a sentence level, on a word choice level, throughout this section that is just it's incredible because it never becomes like jokey, right? It never becomes like black humor. It never like it remains despairing. It remains a piece about a piece about serial killing that turns into a look at your own despair and your own depression that then like grows outward and spirals into this whole like landscape of depression and despair. And so you never lose that vibe, but like as I said, like on a word choice level, on the level of the details that you choose to fixate on, the way you describe these locations. I love when you go through the list of bars. You have the date rape bar, the bar that was on the evening news that one time for a murder. All that stuff is incredibly witty and incredibly funny. And it keeps the reader, I think, in a moment of tension, right? Because if you would let them laugh, that would be one thing. And if you would let them like feel sad or feel despairing or feel like, whatever, scared or depressed, that would be another thing. But it's so, even like on a sentence by sentence level, it's so tightly coiled between like the desire to laugh and the desire to be devastated or scared, that like you never let that tension go. And that's fucking, it's really fucking good. It's so fucking good, man. I went off too long. Anyway, Derek.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I'm only sorry that it didn't work to pull Josh in. We'll get him though. We're still working on this guy.
He'll be here. We've still got time. We've got a couple of people here. If he doesn't show up, we're not that far from Canada. Rudy, how long would it take us? Oh, all right, Keith is up next.
Okay, thanks, William. Can you hear me okay?
Beautifully.
I'm going to try something new tonight. We'll try to paste the link to the document in the chat without asking William. See if that works. Did it work?
Not in the chat yet.
Oh,
You may have to hit enter, maybe?
yeah.
Oh, there we
maybe I
go.
need to send it.
There we go. Okay, that's perfect. Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay. So a year ago this month, I had an opportunity to attend my very first reading, public reading, and Peter B.D., who wrote Milk and Henny, was there. Blake Middleton wrote College Novel. He hosted it. And a guy, Cowboy Roland, showed up for that. And over the course of the last year and the night of that, after that reading, I put together this set of poems. I call them The Reading, A Night in November of 2022, a collection of 4 poems. Finding light on the dark side of the moon. Dark side makes me sad. I miss those times. I miss those friends. I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't change anything. In the end, we all move on, not knowing where we're going, not knowing what lies ahead, but knowing that what we shared will live in us forever. Impressions. One never knows what impression one makes when senses blend together. Connections connected. He was unprepared for the exit interview. The question was, "Are you a poet?" He almost died on the spot. He answered, "I don't know. Sometimes I write poems." The interviewer was a great conversationalist, he thinks. His mind was in such disarray. All he could think about was the sadness, the loneliness of saying goodbye. But sometimes goodbyes aren't forever. They're just a goodbye. 2 regular guys. It was a bro hug on a cool fall night, a night of milk and henny washed down with spoken words, pure top shelf love. As the night ended, shadows in the dark embraced, a first, a last. Happiness, sadness, life passes on. And in the far distant future, alone, one will always remember. It was a bro hug on a cool fall night, a night of milk and henny, washed down with unspoken words, pure top shelf love. In parentheticals, I love you, dude. I love you too.
Those were wonderful, Keith. You know, I've said this before, but it remains true. I really dig just how many styles you will dig into in one batch of poems. Like each one of these poems has a totally different tone, has even a totally different structure and a totally different approach. And each and every one of them fucking works too, which is remarkable. I love impressions. I know that's like the shorter poem, the briefer poem, but it is. Oh, my mom's Pomeranian is throwing a fucking fit. Can you hear him? Shut up, Nikki. I'm trying to think. Anyway, but that poem Impressions, it's so concise, but it's also so precise. I love that what impression one makes when senses blend together, because it's exactly true, right? Like the way that your perspective not only affects how you view the world, but even your ability to understand yourself and your perspective on yourself and how others view you. I love the way you've structured the two regular guys poems so that you actually like have the embrace there within the poem. That is so like beautifully and wonderfully structured. I also love even your use of like spacing around the commas and stuff. It's actually really cool that you sent us a document because this is one where it's improved so much by being able to see it on the page and how it's formatted on the page. And just the rhythm of that and the like gentle beauty of that one. These are very good, Keith. Thank you, man.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Jeff. You're up next, Jeff.
Okay. I have to admit, I'm not exactly sure if I've read this one here before, and it may even be the last thing I read here before. And apologies if it is, but it's just one little quick poem.
You know, Jeff, that might be what we have to do to summon Josh. You have to read a piece that you've read before that has only been slightly edited, and then Josh will immediately appear. Sorry.
All right, I'll throw a few Matchbox drops in here. All right. So this one, it's a shorty, and I titled it Slobservations. Snickers and jokes, beer, flowers, gay techno, and poetry readings. You live in buildings made of sugar, eating tofu, sipping absinthe, smoking marijuana with paprika, Miley Cyrus face. Uncle has no phone, so she let him borrow it until he come home from Hartford. Dealing, living with dogs and schizophrenics, bathing in toilets, sneakers, bracelets, sunglasses, vaping, great for dollars, stealing honey buns for autistic toddlers, beating up triggers for moving the soda, yelling at dogs for barking before sunrise. In the bathtub, topless, taking pictures of Sasha, party of millions, city of thousands, cement and steel girder. Every screw matters. Holding on to the one that is connected to Zion. A box of wine and clementine sustains this podcast free from demolition. This corridor functions a place to work, a place to sleep, and be a little horny for the milkman mustache and his leather bullwhip that stings the back of an opioid addict, 20 days sober, calling her mother to borrow the lawnmower. Gristle is tough, like gum. Probably shouldn't be swallowed. An ape, a lion, an aardvark would argue, but this tongue, no, and yogurt is easily ejaculated on granola in war, a fond memory, better than a Lambo, or 8th grade Sally, or birthdays in Paris under a glass awning. So says the leper carrying an umbrella. So says the moron digging graves for the Catholics. That's all.
Jeff, first of all, you have not read that before. I would certainly have remembered that one if you had. Second of all, that was fucking fantastic, man. I just have to say, I love the "you live in buildings made of sugar" line, especially within the context of the poem. This is a poem I absolutely love what you've done with this poem because it's a poem that like is full of like frivolity. It's like full of that's why I love the buildings full of sugar line. It's full of these like moments, these seemingly senseless minor moments, these lists of like junk food and all that. And yet there are also these moments of real like of a real reminder of mortality and of a lurking meaning under the surface that is being like evaded and avoided. Like obviously the end with the like the burying of Catholics, but also the like the one bolt holding you to Zion. And so there are these moments where it's like there's this overwhelming almost threat there that that something that actually means something will like intercede and disrupt the like party atmosphere of the rest of this piece. And I really I and it becomes almost ominous. You know, you're almost hoping that no, let's just cling to the like the junk food and the topless photos in the bathroom, right? And let's not like let this sense of death and mortality seep in and crush us. It's real fucking good, Jeff. It's excellent.
Man, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, man. So Rudy would be up next, but MD saved us here since Josh is still not here. Somehow. Rudy, have you said you need to send Josh? People need to hit Josh up with some more messages. I think he's hiding. I think he is. You said 20 minutes, like an hour ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I added Josh on the on Jeff's poem. Or you know, when Jeff was reading, I added, I did the hat thing.
oh, okay, okay. Um,
Yes, it's like Popeye. He needs the spinach.
yeah, all right, okay. Well, MD is up next. Oh, here is Derek's iPad in the waiting room. Derek, is that your iPad? Oh, maybe Derek left and is coming in on his iPad. Okay. MD, it's all yours.
Is it working now? Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
I've never done Zoom on my phone before. I don't think. So I was trying to figure it out. Cool. I'm gonna read this short fiction, and then maybe I'll read these like little short poems. Is there like I don't even know how long this will take me to read. Is there like a time cap?
Nope, absolutely not. We're actually trying to kill time until Josh comes in here.
Okay,
so
if
take
by
as
the
long
time
as
I
you need,
finish,
man.
if by the time I finish what I'm gonna read, if he isn't in here,
Well,
could I read a quick little Lydia Davis story?
well, Kat has offered to read after you. So if you want to read
Oh,
your
okay,
story,
perfect.
and then Kat will read, and then we'll see if Josh, we may eventually have to give up on Josh. He may have ghosted us, but we'll see. Anyway, floor is yours.
All right, cool. This one's called Special K. My best friend Andrew is suffering. He suffers from many things, but mostly clinical depression. In fact, he's so depressed, the only food he'll eat is cereal. He takes it with whole milk and a big silver spoon. He wakes up and talks backwards until he's had his pops. He's mostly just saying, gotta have my pops, but backwards. So it sounds like spa vimba headache. He talks backwards to keep the acid reflux from traveling up his esophagus. It's not scientifically proven, but he swears to God talking backwards helps his GERD, another thing he suffers from. Andrew loves Pops, but he loves other cereals too. He doesn't discriminate. He also loves Cookie Crisp, Oreo O's, Honey Smacks, Apple Jacks, and Fruit Loops. As a kid, he once made little cardboard eye goggles out of fruit on the Fruit Loops box. But even still, his absolute favorites are Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Special K Red Berries. I've tried convincing him to just get Special K Original and add his own fresh strawberries, but he insists the included dried strawberries are better. I digress. He's depressed. Andrew got a new dab pen that helped him make a new friend. A good friend. Maybe even a better friend than me. Andrew chiefed his pen before walking into the grocery store. There was no Special K red berries, but there were various other varieties of Special K. Andrew stood there gawking at the Special K options on the shelf, just hoping a box of red berries would eventually pop out at him. He stood there, hunched, somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. I'd say realistically, maybe like 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know. A little box of red berries eventually popped out. The box had a cute little face that basically looked exactly like the face on that little cartoon paperclip from Microsoft Office. Remember him? Clippy? Hi, I'm Red Berries, but you can call me RB. Yo, what's good, RB? My name's Andrew, while trying but failing to dap up RB. I was gonna scare you, but you look a little too sad for a spook. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm just high as fuck right now. Oh, word. Well, I'm down to chill with you, but I can't smoke right now. Kellogg is drug testing me later this week. They're thinking about discontinuing me. What? No fucking way. I'd be so depressed if they did that. I love you, bro. No response. Kellogg did end up discontinuing Special K red berries, but Andrew seems to be doing okay. He took it way better than I thought he would. Lucky for me, I've been able to step up and be a better friend. I make Andrew homemade cereal every morning when he walks over to my house for coffee and cigs. It's so easy. I just pour some Special K Original in a bowl, add a handful of fresh strawberries, drown it in whole milk, and serve it with a big silver spoon. When I tell Andrew I love him now, he believes me. Sometimes he even looks at me with his big milky eyes and says it back. Other times he just stares at himself and his spoon's reflection. That's the end of Special K. And then here are 12 poems. They're like short, like 12 little 3-liner poems. They're about the year 2020, if that matters. Suspending in proximity to Kobe as he holds his daughter and tries to save her. Screaming in unknown faces because music, and drinking hot tea to soothe my throat. Watching the world fall apart on my iPhone and reading Ishmael in my front yard. Riding my bike to the beach to say good morning to the sun. Missing Paris because this time last year we were able to fly. Leaving my old bubble for a new one and hoping to make it mine. Cramming old friends in my new apartment and finding new spots for old furniture. Creating new scars on top of old scars and watching a moose shit in an alpine lake. Thinking about that Gon's line of poetry. If there is a God, he's gonna get it. Dipping cotton candy clouds into the ocean like I'm God. Learning to be a teacher while teaching that teacher is not spelled T-E-G-R. Drinking 3 double espressos in 3 hours, then taking a 3-month break from my iPhone. That is the end.
Those were fucking beautiful, man. I love the Special K story. It is such an astute and accurate and creative description of depression. I love that you get like so much writing about depression is about mood, is just about feeling sad or feeling suicidal. This really gets at how it physically feels to be depressed. As someone who's like struggled with acid reflux and GERD and who knows like that stuff is often tied up with my depression, like you get at like the physical essence of feeling depressed. And it's in this wonderful brief little character study too. But on top of that, you also get, I love the way that the piece ends, because it doesn't, there are a couple of pieces there are a couple of like easy ways you could imagine this piece ending, right? Pieces about depression often end with like either with like suicide or with some kind of like dark conclusion, or with the sense that the depression is just going to kind of endlessly perpetuate itself, or with like a miraculous like major life change. And this does none of that. Instead, you get at the way that these small, like intimate little things can have such a profound impact on our state of mind. I love that you found like this one little thing, like this, what, like the excuse me, the role that like a single bowl of cereal can play in combating like just the demons and the misery we carry around with us. And you managed to find like an uplifting ending to this story that isn't an unrealistic one, that doesn't feel contrived or silly, that feels just as real, just as down to earth, just as centered in like real lived experience, but is still like legitimately uplifting and legitimately positive and life affirming. It's a great story, man. I really dig it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I hate to inform everyone, but I think Josh isn't coming. He sent me a message. He's like, "Oh, I just don't feel up to it. I just can't do it." So, nonetheless, Kat is up next, and then I guess Rudy will close out the night.
Hey, so theme of the night, I don't know if I've read this one either, but I probably have and just edited it, so sorry, not sorry, I guess. This is called Bloodletting on East 43rd Street. I don't think I'll ever stop writing that story of us at the party. You know, the one where I kick my boots off in the mudroom off your kitchen and walk in with a gaping hole in my chest. It's silent, like a dream, like a TV show where the extras don't speak and just mouth words. The crowd parts around me, everyone's staring, not just because of the hole, which I'm trying and failing to cover with my hands, but some deep-rooted sense that the main character of the scene has finally shown up. I'm dizzy and looking for you. Blood is seeping between my fingers, dripping onto the floor, and I'm looking for you. Can you come downstairs? Are you up there piling the coats on the bed? I need you to see this blood trail and make that joke you once made when I spilled the wine. This time I'll be ready for it. I'll laugh and laugh. It's real this time. I need you more than the party needs you, than the coats need you, than the bed needs you. It's eating me up inside. I feel the party talking about me even in the silence. They gesture with their eyes, so superior. Who cares what they think? This is our moment. You know, the scene in the movie where they say the name of the movie. You're missing it. Right now, you should have descended the stairs and been so shocked at the sight of me you stumbled and knocked down the suit of armor on the landing. But the stairs are clear and the suit of armor is piled on the bed, weighing the coats down. And where are you? Blood is trickling down my shirt. Can you come downstairs? Can you say your line? The one where your voice quakes at the end and I open my hands and my wound gushes onto my shoes. Remember this part? Stepping over the fallen armor as I slide my fingertips over the hole, smear them with blood. It's casual. That's the genius of it. I stick my fingers in your mouth and you taste my pain and you're crying. You take it so well, I scoop more of the pain from the hole into your mouth and then I taste some too. I was ready this time, but you never showed up. You were supposed to taste this with me. You were supposed to feel it. We were supposed to hold each other. This isn't the way I wrote it down and everyone's watching. I feel them judging me with their eyes. I scan the faces for someone I can trust to ask where you went, why you're still up there, why you never looked for me, but it's getting dark and I'm losing a lot of blood. That's it.
So, Kat, I don't think you read that before. I can't be totally sure because I did read that poem while I was reading your collection, but I'm glad you read this one because there are nuances to this poem that I didn't pick up on when I read it through when I was reading Thumbsucker. First of all, this is such a great dream poem because often when people do poems that have like the vibe of a dream or a nightmare, they'll go so surreal that you lose touch with like the real emotional experience of having a dream. Like dreams rarely feel surreal and meaningless when you're having them, even if in retrospect you're like, what the fuck was that, right? But and I love the way that you also don't conceal that fact from us either, because which is the other thing a lot of like it was a dream pieces will do, which is they'll like they'll be so like grounded in the reality of the piece that they'll like obfuscate the fact that you're having a dream. Instead, you do this wonderful thing where you like ebb in and out of reality and surreality, right? Where like you get the sense that this can't possibly be happening, but then like there'll be really real details, like being upstairs, the person being upstairs looking at like being upstairs with the coats, which is exactly the kind of like detail you would expect at a real party. But then like you'll get pulled out because there's the suit of armor on the landing, and then suddenly the suit of armor is up with the clothes. And so the dream logic is there. The associational dream logic is still present in this poem, but it never overwhelms the poem. So the end result is really fucking heartbreaking and really fucking devastating, because the reader never gets to say, oh, it's just a dream. Like it's like, no, this is a horrifying, emotionally real feeling thing that's happening, and you never get to cut that emotion. Like you never get to adulterate or dilute like the horror of it with the like surreality or whatever. Anyway, it's an awesome poem, Kat. I'm glad you, like I said, I'm glad you read it again, because I picked up on things I missed out on the first time around.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for me because I don't really write things in that vein typically, or like at least I don't feel like I am. And so there's like a couple things in this collection that are kind of in that vein, or like there's the thing I do at the end of this one that you can't see unless you're reading it. And a couple other poems where I like just kind of like cut it off. And part of that is that reason, like I don't want to like put a bow on it. So I've just been experimenting with just like not having to find a way to end it. And it's also kind of like a cop out, but I think I don't know, it's good to know that it kind of works here. So thank you.
No, it does work, because you never get a clean conclusion to a dream, right? You just have the lingering emotional residue of the dream when you wake up, and you just have to fucking live with that. You don't get it rationalized for you. Anyway, that was fantastic, Kat. And Rudy is closing out the night. Since Josh has stood us up again.
Stood us out.
The bastard.
Oh, it's a shame Josh isn't gonna make it, because this is a poem I kind of wrote just for Josh Sherman. Although not really. I guess I wrote it because I'm a fucking idiot who can't get off of social media and just know when to, yeah. So this this one is called, oh, first I'll give a moment of silence for Josh Sherman, who can't be here. RIP. So this one is called The Unpopular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The F's in the chat. I gotta put my F in there. There we go. Into someday. What's that sound? Nirvana. I hate myself and want to die. Habib is a bored kid who wants to blow up a big building in Tel Aviv, but doesn't have two shits to rub together, much less 2,000 US dollars worth of fertilizer and fuel oil. Lars is a foreign kid whose parents are reporters for the TV, who speaks with an accent that makes him sound dumb or blunted, but interesting. Fatima is a smelly kid who wants to be handed a Nokia 105 cell phone and a key to paradise. When she tries to join the suicide club, they just throw soap at her. They all attend Open Air High School in the town of Palestine. Open Air High is a shitty place because it's high school, and for no other reason. Palestine is a sleepy little town where men dressed like Saracen marauders from old cartoons swallow swords and harsh pills. A young man named Ahmed was gunned down by United Nations archaeologists the other night on Main Street in a dispute over a skull. He was Habib's uncle. This morning in homeroom, Habib's anger is just one of the many elephants present. The audience is treated to a long take, then a short take on that long take, courtesy of X.com. Period 1 is transportation systems. Habib sits down with a crash. He talks about how it sucks that some people get to brandish guns on airliners at 30,000 feet while he's stuck down here with 30,000 hands. Habib uses air quotes, including quotes about an airport massacre in the 1970s. Barbaric Stone Age people. Flintstones. Hanna-Barbaric. Lars says some borderline incomprehensible shit and flails around. Shut up, Lars, everyone says. Fatima used to talk about the band logo on her disheveled t-shirt and how she couldn't understand people who kill themselves for no reason. She used to say that she wanted the bang she goes out on to mean something other than, I'm sad. She used to see Allah in everything, but now she keeps her pareidolia in a box like Kurt kept his paraphernalia. You might say she's been run through by the long spear of hopelessness, the one they jab martyrs with to make sure they're totally dead. Or you might say that she just doesn't give a fuck now. Now, when Habib says, quote unquote, some people, he's talking about the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Habib, Lars, and Fatima are not the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. They are the Unpopular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. They are disillusioned youth who have an outlet but nothing cool to plug into it. Hamas is on a mission, but they'd rather free roam. Everybody in their life is doing cool shit just out of frame. The terror of missing out. While the preps are out there orchestrating plans to kill scores of Zionists, they are here getting swirled by the cyclical nature of violence. It's a chocolate swirly too. Physics, period 3. The Rocket Club is shooting shit off. Fatima's sister is part of that club. Their house is being targeted by warplanes. Their house is rubble. Fatima fights with her sister about the efficacy of using their house, the place where they have to sleep between lessons, as a launch pad for her dreams. That's why nobody likes you, her sister says. You're a jealous bitch who asks stupid questions. Fatima tosses a piece of her bedroom wall at an Israeli settler eating some McDonald's fries. His bag has a Flintstones movie advertisement on it. Put rubble on its place. A rocket misses a target and blows up the nurse's office. Lars is flailing his arms again. Lars's mom is a super senior and the president of the AV club. She knows the school nurse and all of the children blown up there, all of their names, like she's the hobo from the Roger Miller song. There were lots of people standing in line at that office. Some faking stomach aches, some not faking. Guess they're all going home now. Lars's dad films Lars's mom in all kinds of positions, most of them degrading. Her makeup runs down ruddy cheeks as she talks about the bombed out nurse's office, with him shoving a phallic boom mic in her face. A regiment of IDF soldiers is walking down the corridor. A couple of jocks from the football team start a fight with them. The IDF lets them have it. A tank joins in. The jocks are the ones that wind up getting put into lockers. 30 years in Israeli detention and throw away the key. One gets his head split open by a 5.56 round. Permanent expulsion. Habib is part of the Death Club, which is a club almost everyone in Palestine is a member of. The Populars, like Benjamin and Ismail, are the dealers of death. Everyone else just has to sit at the table and say, hit me. Habib is the club treasurer. His job involves a lot of tallying. His job is to dig graves by hand really fast while cool kids like Fatima's sister make the numbers go up. For homecoming one time, the whole club carried Habib's brother on their shoulders for a bit. Habib used to wish that was him, but now he's not dying for attention, just dying in every other way. The teachers at Open Air High School are elemental and social forces and have names like Mr. Erosion of Community, Miss Entropy, Mrs. Strong Rain that exacerbates cholera. Some people, weasel words, say that the teachers don't really teach anything. that there's nothing to learn, that all this will be fucking useless when everyone is done high school and has to either break rocks or work for their dad forever. Fatima is fantasizing about taking vengeance in open air. She would rather fuck everything, everyone, than sit for another minute in Mr. Humanitarian Crisis's third period class talking about the billionth intifada. Physical education. Fatima is fucking Lars currently. Lars and her once fucked in the common grave in back of the gymnasium. As they fucked, the bullies Azrael and Malak came by, maybe looking for their dead relatives, but probably also looking for people to harass. Fatima and Lars pretended to be dead. It was pretty easy. Lars is saying something to Fatima about his chode. Fatima doesn't really give a damn. Shh, she says. Her and Lars use their free periods plotting the worst thing. Something big, egregious. They make martyr videos with Lars's mom's camera, then wipe the SD cards because who cares? On her cell phone, Fatima debates doing a TikTok duet with Allah, but instead winds up just browsing Allah's channel. All of Allah's videos are black screens with white noise. The two wish they could use Minecraft to make a map of their school like Dylan and Eric made a Doomwad before Columbine. Fatima wishes she could take the redstone blocks that power devices in Minecraft out of Minecraft and use them to power her block, so she wouldn't have to sit all night bathed in the soft glow of a cell phone running on battery saver mode. She also wishes for an intercontinental ballistic missile to strike Gaza, if Santa Claus or Ronald Reagan are listening. Star Wars wipe. Hamas jocks buy their time. Weapons as hot and ready as $5 of cardboard that can feed a family. A girl blown to smithereens is paraded through the narrow streets by the Death Club, detached extremities voguing for the angels as they bounce around in her shroud. Her face has a blah expression, while everyone else is expressive to the nth degree and beyond. Cynical martyr protagonist, daydream debunker, homecoming queen. Daria theme song plays from everywhere. Although the whole situation is really more like Mo Money, Mo Problems. Gats in holsters, girls on shoulders. More explosions are going off somewhere nearby. Elsewhere, bluebirds are feeling the shockwaves and, in their own way, going off. Going off the many images flitting through the timelines, there is a burgeoning interest in Palestine from a westerly direction. Biolab. The largest species of American bluebird, Tweeticus, won't shut the fuck up a kiss, is a creature constantly hounded by yipping coyotes that ride rockets into their nests with daredevil flair. Saturated, overstimulating nests of wires, current, and easily swallowed pills, huge doughy eyes with binocular vision for struggle, regal expressive plumage, fit for a king with Habsburg drip, nasal drip, information water torture drip, tear ducts trickling down, evasive slippery prey with constant chemical alarms going off. Go off, kings. Period 13, study hall. Sans a Minecraft capable computer, Fatima and Lars draw some lines in the sand depicting their scheme. Fatima draws a huge plug that goes to a television. Lars draws a hand pulling it out of the wall. They grab Habib from the gym, waylaying him from his treasurer duties. They march into the AV club office, armed with long knives. They kill Lars's parents because of course they do. Lars weeps because of course he does. They flay all the club members and then make a toxic bonfire using all the tapes and CRT monitors. As the plume creates a smoke screen, the trio trashes everything. The fire spreads. Fire. The air in open air high school is thick with black ash. In the soot and dark, nobody is seeing anything. Coffins are replaced by coffin. So much coffin that nobody is saying shit, really. An inland breeze blows the smoke into nearby communities. All the smoke from all the burning film is suffocating the media. Bad day to be recording. Bad day for cameras that aren't made with predator vision. A really strong dust storm carries the smoke east and north, south and west. Pretty soon there isn't any news coming out of the sleepy town of Palestine, or anywhere else in the general vicinity. Palestine is invisible. You can't fence in something that you can't see unless you're Muhammad Ali throwing thunder in jail. So Palestine is free, I guess. Habib, Lars, and Fatima are free falling. Habib, Lars, and Fatima sit in the black cloud where they are content. Habib, Lars, and Fatima are relieved to be in this cloud and off of every other one where they are content. The black cloud rises into the air above incendiary balloons from Gaza, above Hamas paragliders, above Israeli jets. Period 999, lunch. 1,000 different organizations send money, eSIMs, drones, and observers into the black cloud, anxious to restore the image of Gaza. Any image. Images of dead kids, tanks blowing up, fucking anything. The black cloud swallows them and gives nothing back. The black cloud doesn't care. A few different militaries bomb the black cloud. This has the effect of spreading it farther. It spans from the river to the sea and it's still going. The black cloud is refusing to disperse, a sit-in. The black cloud came in here to eat and it ain't leaving till it's ate. As a last resort, the United Nations sends the archaeologists who shot Habib's uncle into the black cloud. The hashtags flare. Hashtag tenured grave robber. Hashtag Indiana bones. Hashtag Gaza is a cemetery. The cloud is cold, and in the space where it meets all this social media hot air, a front is formed. This front is not the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. It is a psychoactive weather system. You can call it an egregore or psychic maelstrom or some other occult buzzword, but that's dumb. In any event, the resulting wind gusts carry the black cloud out to sea, across oceans and boundaries. Pretty soon, everything is inside the black cloud. I'm actually inside the black cloud right now typing out this story. Doesn't really matter because no one will see this anyway, because there is no internet. The black cloud won't allow satellite communication or any communication. I have neighbors, but I don't ever see them anymore. The black cloud has rendered them as invisible to me as they were before, just more literally. What's the fucking point of doing anything if no one ever sees it? I went outside and masturbated 4 feet from my neighbor's car and she didn't make a sound. Maybe she's dead. It'll be winter in the United States soon. I'm writing about some desert region hot war bleeding into these fucking pages when I should be bleeding my water heater so I don't freeze. Talk about a time sink. My house is situated on a fill. My house is sinking into the ground. My leaning tower of pizza boxes. The inside is going to hell. Me too. This text is probably gibberish because the keyboard is shifting on the uneven table as I type, and the little nubs on my F and J keys are worn away. You won't see this, just like you won't see David Lynch's Dune on many critics' top 10 sci-fi movie lists. I did not say this. I am not here. I think it's fucking insane that people who would cross the street to avoid conversations with friends and neighbors can project their sympathies across an ocean and be on social media pouring themselves out for Israelis or Palestinians. I think that foreign war in the age of instant communication presents cushy, maybe needed opportunity for many people to feel engaged and engorged and immersed in others' suffering. I think that having audiovisual permanent records of your worst days, days where you do things out of suffering that magnify suffering, intermingled in the same place where people go to passively absorb JPEGs of cats or read esports drama or jerk off to furry OCs is a weird, perversely modern addition to Judgment, in which the scroll of deeds hung around your neck now has to include a doom scroll through your timeline. I think that extending the toxic parasocial nature of Birdsight to warfare is presenting opportunities for state apparatuses to further justify more war, which is dumb as fuck. I think that most calls to action are just part of the same brutal, unsolvable game that everyone is playing for a chance at a nonsense kill screen and a mark left in a machine that means nothing more than, lol, I was here. In the someday was the some. At least we're doing something. I'm sick of all the bullshit mantras people repeat to comfort themselves. I don't give a damn about world happenings. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. 9E0J5, R9F3Q EQJH. Yeah, that's it.
Holy shit, man. Holy fucking shit. This is so fucking good. This is phenomenal. Love fuck I love so much about this piece. I love the way that it's structured. I love the way that every time you think it's about to settle into a groove, every time you think you get what's happening with this piece, it twists, it changes, and it evolves in a way that is really effective, I think. First of all, I love the concept. I love the even down to the title, the Unpopular Liberation Front, or excuse me, the Unpopular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Because of course, if there's a popular front, there has to and I love the way that you took that bit of wordplay and spun it into this wonderfully like surreal like coming of age, like teenage high school drama piece that is exact. And I love the way that section of it is written too, because you do things that's typical of a lot of your writing, which is you integrate a lot of pop culture references. There's a lot of like puns and kind of like sardonic like jokes and stuff, but all of that is perfectly integrated into the voice of like it's such a perfect fit. Even like the like Beavis and Butthead reference, it's all such a perfect fit for like a story about angsty high school students who also happen to be like an extended metaphor for the Israel Palestine conflict. And all of the like the way you juxtapose like the petty like insular suffering of high school, right, with like the the much more profound and significant suffering of a fucking war zone, right, of like real serious deadly human conflict and genocide. It's so fucking effective, and it's made even more effective by the final act here, by the final section where it becomes personal, because you can it changes the lens through which you see everything from before, right? Once you've taken, first of all, I love the black cloud. I love the image of the black cloud. I love the because that is so it's so fucking astute and so fucking true. How many of us, it is too bad Josh wasn't how many of us do that? How many of us like get sucked into the like tunnel vision of social media, get like absolutely like viciously enraptured in shit that's going on all around us, and yet like have no cognizance or no willingness to see anything that's going on like in our own families, among our friends, like, or even like fucking in our neighborhoods, whatever. And the way that extends naturally out of the like the way like the black cloud is a function of the psychosis of these petty, angry, frustrated kids, and then like it becomes a way like a metaphor or a symbol that you can use to like express your own like resentment and frustration is so good. Like the emotional arc of this piece is amazingly a straight line, which you would not like, you would think, given how many times this thing changes direction, like in terms of plot, in terms of content, and even in terms of theme, you would think emotionally it would be choppy, right? You would think it'd be like all over the place emotionally, but that like there's this deep vein of resentment or of like deep interpersonal frustration, or the like unpopular thing, like the feeling of being an outsider, that ties this whole thing beautifully together on like a thematic and emotional level. Anyway, it's a fantastic fucking piece, man, and I know I'm not alone in thinking so, because like everyone in the chat saying the same fucking thing.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'll just hum the Daria theme. I don't really have anything else to say. Sorry, but thanks for your words and stuff.
Oh, it's good, man. It's good, man. And I think we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it there as usual. I will keep the Zoom meeting open for a while so people can hang out and talk, but we're gonna end the reading portion there. Damn it, Josh Sherman. This is great. There have been some really great fucking pieces read tonight. This was an exceptional one. And we started out with 3 people signed up to read, and one of them didn't show up. So this is a real loaves and fishes kind of situation here tonight. Anyway, fantastic stuff. Thank you to everyone who read, especially people who read at the last fucking minute. This has been a great one. This has been Misery Loves Company. We do this every Friday night. I almost said 5 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone's welcome to come and join us. Anyone's welcome to read if they'd like. We tweet out the Zoom link just before we begin from our Twitter account @Misery Tourism. Thanks again, everyone. That's it. All right. Bye.